Hi everyone, I am Diana Villamar. I am going to talk about the alpha thalassemia. Definition. Thalassemia are a group of blood conditions that affect the way the body makes hemoglobin. In thalassemia, red blood cells are destroyed at a high rate, causing anemia. Alpha thalassemia occurs when the gene responsible for controlling the production of alpha globins is missing or when this gene is detected.
Thalassemia is an inherited blood disorder in which the body produces an abnormal form of hemoglobin or oxygen-carrying protein. Presence of faulty hemoglobin results in large-scale destruction of red blood cells, which leads to anemia. About 100,000 babies worldwide are born with severe forms of thalassemia each year. Thalassemia occurs most frequently in people of Italian, Greek, Middle Eastern, Southern Asian, and African ancestry. Hemoglobin consists of two different proteins, an alpha and a beta. If the body doesn't produce enough of either of these two proteins, the red blood cells do not form properly and cannot carry sufficient oxygen. The result is anemia that begins in early childhood and lasts throughout life. This disorder can be classified into two types, alpha thalassemia and beta thalassemia. The severity depends on how many of the 4 genes for alpha globin or 2 genes for beta globin are missing. It is estimated that 1.5% of the global population carries genes of beta thalassemia. Thalassemia is caused due to particular genetic defects which are inheritable. Alpha thalassemia results due to mutation in the genes HBA and HBA2. Beta thalassemia is due to mutations in the HBB gene on chromosome 11. Symptoms depend on the type of thalassemia and can vary from mild to severe. Anemia can cause pale skin, fatigue, weakness, and shortness of breath. Patients may also suffer with an enlarged spleen, jaundice, dark color of urine, and loss of appetite. Thalassemia patients can get an overload of iron in their bodies, which can lead to damage of the heart, liver, and endocrine system. Children can suffer with slow physical growth and delayed puberty. Abnormal heart rhythms and congestive heart failure may be associated with severe thalassemia. If adequate iron chelation therapy is not provided, almost all patients accumulate potentially fatal iron levels. Diagnosis of thalassemia is typically made by blood tests, including a complete blood count, hemoglobin electrophoresis test, and genetic analysis. Prenatal diagnosis of thalassemia is best carried out by chorionic villus sampling in the first trimester of pregnancy. Treatment of thalassemia depends on the type and severity. Treatment for the severe form of disease often includes regular blood transfusions, iron chelation therapy, a process by which excess iron from the body, and supplementation of folic acid. Bone marrow transplantation may be used to cure the condition, especially in young people who have a human leukocyte antigen matched donor. Success rates in bone marrow transplantation have been in the 80 to 90% range. For more information about list of expert doctors, hospitals, and ongoing clinical trials, please visit www.expertdocs. Ongoing clinical trials, please visit www.expertdocs.com.
Applications in medicine. In most cases, alpha thalassemia is diagnosed before the child's second year of life or through a blood test that is done when the child is born. Blood tests can also measure the amount of iron in the blood test hemoglobin and test the child DNA for abnormal hemoglobin genes. If both parents are carriers of alpha thalassemia, doctors may test the fetus before the child is born. Pros and cons. Pros. Children with mid-alpha thalassemia have a natural protection against anemia associated with malaria. They are protected because they have higher global hemoglobin levels when they suffer a malaria attack. Cons. Since symptoms of thalassemia may include the following: fatigue, weakness, pale skin, facial bone deformities, slow growth, abdominal swelling, dark organ.
Hi, we're going to talk about thalassemia major. Thalassemia major is a genetic disease. It's transmitted from parents to children, and usually the parents are thalassemia carriers. That means they carry a defective gene, but they are not themselves affected by this problem. And when the two defective genes come together in the child, they can give rise to what's called a thalassemia major. So the risk of transmitting this defective gene and the risk of both these genes having to simultaneously in a child is about 25%. So there's 25% risk these parents can transmit this gene to the child, and the child can have thalassemia major. Now, this carrier state in India is quite high, and in areas it's about 15, some areas 15 to 20%. And there's a significant risk that two of these carriers can marry and can have a child with thalassemia major. And we can simply prevent this, and the preventive strategies are twofold. One is that we can do what's called as pre-marriage counseling. So before a couple enters into wedlock, they can do this HPLC, which is a simple test to detect their carrier state. And if they are carriers, there's an option of, if it's arranged marriage, of not marrying. But even if they marry and plan children, we can still prevent thalassemia major by a simple test when the mother is about 10 to 12 weeks pregnant, and that's called as chorionic villus sampling. And with that test, we can see whether the new child is having thalassemia major or not. And same thing can be applied in those couples who have already married and they do not know their thalassemia carrier state. They can do a thalassemia carrier state testing with HPLC before they plan any children. And again, if they are carriers, we can prevent it by doing the simple test. And very important message I want to convey, there are a lot of families who already have one thalassemia major born to their family. It's very important that they should go for antenatal testing for the next child so that another child is not born with the same disease. Thank you very much.
Issues ablated in Ecuador. In Ecuador, according to studies, at present, approximately 5% of the world population carries a potentially pathological hemoglobin gene. Every year, around 300,000 children are born with thalassemia syndrome, 30%. In conclusion, at this time the only possible cure for thalassemia is a procedure called a bone marrow transplant. Bone marrow transplants for heirs are therefore only performed in the most severe case of thalassemia, since living with thalassemia is often challenging. People who are carriers of alpha thalassemia and want to have children should see a professional for genetic advice.
الألفا ثلاسيميا هي عبارة عن نقص في إنتاج الألفا. أنا عندي الألفا جينز موجودة 4 ألفا جين على كروموزوم 16. كروموزوم 16 بيحتوي على 4 ألفا جين. طيب ساعات يبقى في واحد مش موجود، حصل له ديليشن، حصل له ميوتيشن، في الحالة ديت بيبقى عندنا حاجة اسمها سايلنت ألفا ثلاسيميا، يعني ممكن ما تبانش أعراض ولا أي حاجة خالص، مجرد بس مريض سايلنت. طيب عندنا في مثال آخر إن بيبقى في عندي 2 مش موجودين، وفي الحالة دي بنقول عليها ألفا ثلاسيميا تريد، قريبة جدا من الإيه، من السايلنت ثلاسيميا برضو، ممكن ما يكونش في أعراض عن المريض. في عندي الحالة الثالثة إن ممكن يكون في اختباء ل3، يعني في 3 مش موجودين. ال3 مش موجودين ده يعمل لنا يبتدي يظهر لنا المرض بقى في نوع من الأمراض اسمه هيموجلوبين اتش ديسيز، اللي هو absence of 3 alpha genes. طبعا في حالة برضو بس مش موجودة هنا عندنا، اللي هي absence of the 4 alpha globin genes. هنتكلم عن الحاجات دي بالتفصيل إن شاء الله في الشرايح اللي جاية. أنا عندي الحالة اللي هي أشد الحالات، اللي هي absence of the 4 alpha globin gene severe form of the alpha thalassemia. زي ما انتم شايفين الطفل ده بيتولد وبيكون عنده complete suppression of the alpha chain thesis، يعني ما عندوش alpha خالص، minus 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 minus. This is incompatible with life، يعني ما يقدرش يعيش. فعشان كده بنلاقي الطفل ده ميت داخل الرحم، ديت ان يوترو هيدروبس فيتاليس، تلاقي منفوخ مليان ميه، severe abdominal swelling، سوالو الليفر، منتفخ الليفر، نقول عليه هايدروبس فيتاليس، مهم جدا. او ايديما، يعني عنده ارتشاح جامد وعنده انتفاخ جامد في جسم سيرف الهارت فيلير بسبب السيفير انيميا. الفيتس ده عنده ابنورمال هيموجلوبين اسمه هيموجلوبين بارتس، عباره عن 4 جاما 4. طيب الحاله الثانيه absence of the 3 alpha globin genes. absence of 3 alpha globin genes ده بيعمل لي نوع من انواع الامراض اسمه هيموجلوبين اتش ديسيز. الهيموجلوبين اتش ديسيز ده بيبان لي في الهيموجلوبين الكتروفوريتس. بنشوفه في الهيموجلوبين الكتروفوريتس، نلاقي اسرع هيموجلوبين يروح ناحيه القطب الموجب هو الهيموجلوبين اتش، اسرع من الهيموجلوبين اي، يعني يعدي الهيموجلوبين اي ويبقى هو رقم 1 في الشريحه بتاعتنا. عشان كده لما بنشتغل الالكتروفوريزس لازم نظبط الوقت بتاعنا، نقلل الوقت بتاعنا شويه، والا الهيموجلوبين اتش ده هيجري ويقع من على الشريحه. يعني بدل ما يكون الوقت بتاع الالكتروفوريزس 20 دقيقه خليه 15 دقيقه لو انت شاكك ان فيه هيموجلوبين اتش بان. طيب نخلي بالنا ان انا عملت ريتيكلوسايت بريبريشن سوبرافايتال ستينز للدم بتاع الشخص اللي هو احتماليه انه كان عنده هيموجلوبين اتش. هلاحظ فيه خليه كاركترستيك قوي، الخليه دي اسمها جولف بول سيلز. جولف بول الاقي في ترسيب كده من البيتا، هنا بقى البيتا هي اللي كتيره والالفا قليله، فالبيتا الكتير دي تترسب بريسبيتيت في الار بي سيز وبتعمل لي زي كرات الجولف داخل الايه الريد بلاد سيلز. طيب الالفا ثلاسيميا تريتس والسايلنت كارير، لما يكون في عندي مشكله في 1 جين اور 2 جينز يبقى لوس اوف 1 اور 2 جينز بيدينا التريتس او الكارير، وغالبا بيكونوا سايلنت او اسيمتوماتيك. سايلنت كارير، اسيمتوماتيك ساعات نقول عليها ماينور برضو، يبقى دول اللي هم اخر حاجه في الالفا ثلاثيه.
Thank you.